Waikiki Kakasa, Waikiki Fate. Welcome to the Kiran Rai Show. How have you guys been? Oh, Teddo. ਚਾਹ ਦਾ ਕੱਪ ਤਾਂ ਪੀ ਲਈਏ ਚੱਲ ਅਸੀਂ ਨਾ ਕਿਹਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਕਰਦੇ ਸੀ ਪਿਛਲੇ ਵੀਕ ਹਾਂਜੀ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਯਾਦ ਆਇਆ ਅਸੀਂ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਕਰਦੇ ਸੀਗੇ health ਬਾਰੇ so we were talking about health last week and we had the Indian life coach with us we had Juggy on the show and guess what guys we have him back today again we are going to talk about health see health ਬਾਰੇ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਕਰਦੇ ਸੀਗੇ so we're going to dive a bit more deeper into that topic you know when we look after ourselves it's really important that we look after ourselves we look after our health you know and you know chungi health and chungi wealth on the end not just for ourselves but also for our kids you know for everyone that's around us and that's quite important so we're going to you know dig a bit deeper and dive a bit more deeper into that so welcome back Chuggy onto this show I'm really pleased and really happy to have you back how are you okay are you well
I'm great, thank you, and thank you for having me back on.
So today we are talking about, you know, ਅਸੀਂ ਪਿਛਲੇ ਹਫਤੇ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਕਰਦੇ ਸੀ about, you know, health and things like that. And going into what we were talking about, you have actually got your, you know, you've actually got your book that you released with your mum and you know and it's got all the Indian foods and everything like that we said last week you know ਕਿ ਜਦੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਵਿਆਹ ਤੇ ਜਾਣਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਆ ਤਾਂ ਸਟੈਂਡ ਲੱਗੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਗੋ ਗੱਪਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਲੱਗੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ ਚਾਟ ਦੇ ਲੱਗੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਸਮੋਸਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਲੱਗੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਤਾਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਵੀ ਦੇਖੇ ਯਮੀ ਯਮੀ ਮਾਈ ਟਮੀ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਭੁੱਖ ਲੱਗੀ ਹੋਈ ਸੀ ਵੀ ਖਾਣਾ ਜਾ ਕੇ but ਫਿਰ ਦੇਖਦੇ ਆ ਕਿ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਿਮ ਜਾਣਾ ਆ ਉਹ ਖਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਸਕਦੇ but you actually worked it out with your mom where you've made a really good book and it's out on all platforms isn't it
Yeah.
how did that process actually start and where can you get that book from
Do you know what? This actually started when I was with my nanny and my mum. So we were all sitting around, and you know how it is with the elders, they'll just start making food, and you don't know what they're putting in, but the food always tastes amazing, and it always tastes the same every single time. And it just made me really curious that how do they do that? And then it also made me think, well, what's the process here, and how can I help people understand, you know, things like calories, things like protein content, how much fat is going in there, how much carbohydrates are going in there, and how can I show people that it's not as bad as it's made out to be? Because a lot of people have got this concept in their mind that Indian food is inherently bad for their health and their well-being. So I wanted people to see that it's not as bad as they think it is, and in fact, it's actually incredibly great for your health and your well-being. So what we did is we sat down and I watched my nanny put things into her own mix, but I actually got her to weigh the things as she put them out, so we could actually assign numbers to everything. So what enabled me to do is work out things like the calories and the macros, and help people adapt the recipes so that they still taste amazing, but they were a little bit lower in calorie, or they might be a little bit higher in protein, and then show people all the different types of flours that they can use to make different type of roti, depending on obviously the textures that they want to achieve, but also, you know, their health. Because that's a real important thing for us. We want to make sure that our food is inclusive in a health and well-being journey, and not something that's seen as a negative, not something that's seen as, you know, hands off. And part of the reason for that, by the way, is the amount of clients that we've worked with that will, you know, cook a separate meal for themselves and then another meal for everybody else within their family and their household. Automatically, that shows almost the kids or the other members of the household that this food's unhealthy and I'm giving it to you. This food's healthy and I'm having it. So we wanted people to see that you don't have to cut anything out. And in fact, you can enjoy all these foods as part of your lifestyle.
and in terms of you know when your mom was kind of explaining you know with this how you make dal roti and stuff like that I'm assuming did she teach you how to make dal roti so do you know how to make it as well
Well, this is the thing. So I've always been really, really keen on obviously nutrition and learning the science of it, but also cooking. It's always been a bit of a passion. In fact, when I was going to university, I didn't really know even the basics of how to cook. So all of my meals would be quite, you know, bland and boring and basic. And then I really got into that side of it because I wanted to understand it, but also for the fact that I don't want it to be a lost art form. Like I want the kids to see me cooking, and I want to see them to see me in the kitchen, you know, because I think it's important to change this all this mindset towards what a dad does and what a mom does. I think we should all be
Mm.
sharing these responsibilities. So yeah, my mom taught me this. I'm gotta say I don't make the roundest already, but I give it my best go.
And in terms of, what was their reaction? Because didn't like your mom and your dad, or do they speak Punjabi or do they speak English? What was their reaction to kind of explain this concept that you had? कि
Mm.
मैं अब book बनाऊंगा. This book is gonna help so many people. How did that conversation actually go with them? So how did that work?
So my mom and dad were both born in the UK. So it's my Bibi Baba, Nani and Nonna that came over initially. So yeah, mom and dad were really supportive of it. In fact, me and my mom created a second book already, and we're just putting
Mm,
the final touches on it right now.
mm,
And my mom, I think it's kind of a passion project for her as well. She's really enjoying coming up with new recipes or amending and adapting things, and she's a whiz on using different apps now. She's the one that can actually work out calories and macros because I've kind of taught her how to do it. So yeah, it's kind of a team effort, if that makes sense.
And because it's now become like it's a beautiful idea to work with your mom and have that project there. You know, what was the whole let's say the idea behind of the actual cookbook? Where
Mm.
you've told us about इतना शुरू हुआ ऐसे इतना हुआ ऐसे and you've kind of had that conversation with your parents, but the idea behind of it, how did that come to life? Like, how did it all start from having that conversation to kind of put it all together? Talk to us about the journey of that. So how did that happen?
It really is. I think going back to that very first moment of us sitting in the kitchen and seeing my nanny make food, it was just such a powerful moment. And again, my nanny taught my mom. Now my mom's taught us. So it's just nice to see that it's already gone down the generations. And like I said, I
Mm,
don't want that to stop with me. I want that to continue going forwards. And I want my boys, because I've got two boys, I want them to know how to
mm,
do this going forwards too. So it really was that thought process. And the amount of people that have used the book and actually said, this is the first time I've actually tried cooking something. And when we did the
mm,
vegetarian recipe series as well, the amount of guys that
yeah,
joined in this and were actually saying to us, it's the first time I've ever actually been in the kitchen and tried to make food. I think it was just such
mm,
an incredible thing to do. And I think it's really needed as well because there is such a bad mindset towards Indian food. And I just wanted people to
mm,
know that it doesn't need to be cut out. And in fact, it should be a staple within your diet going forwards. And our culture is so important to us. We don't want to let the cultural side kind of die out because people want to improve their health. All of these things should be married together, especially if you're creating a sustainable and long-term approach towards nutrition and towards behavior
mm.
change.
And this book that you had released, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but it came out last year, right? So
Yeah.
where can you actually buy that? Can you buy it from Amazon online, or do you have your own website where people can actually buy it from? Where can they get it from? Because you said you've got another one coming too.
Yeah. So the first edition is available basically on my Instagram and it's on my website, so juggisidhu.com. And it's also on my Facebook page, so you can actually access it from my Facebook directly. But if anybody's struggling to find it, just message me and drop me an email on info@juggisidhu.com. I'll be more than happy to come back to you. And yeah, the second one. So the first one was released on my birthday last year.
Mm.
Um, there's a bit of an unfortunate story around this that I wanted to give my nanny obviously a copy of this, but unfortunately she passed away just probably about a week before it was actually launched and released. So it was a
Oh,
real, obviously a real emotional thing. So the second one we've created is a complete dedication to her and to some of the foods that she used to really love cooking and some of the foods that my mom used to really enjoy eating from my nanny's kind of recipes. So
mm,
I'm really looking forward to this coming out. But everything that I do now and everything that we share here and all the education that we provide, I just see this
mm.
as almost an ode to the legacy that she left for us.
And we're hearing that, we're excited for that to come out. Can't wait to actually see that, because I'm a foodie, a complete foodie, and food definitely makes my stomach very very happy. And some people say when you're eating, Kiran, you do your little dance. dawdling your head, like, when you're eating. So when it comes to a lot of people, when we talk about food quite a lot on the show, and when we talk about food or papri chaat, I'm like, mujhe na swad aane lag paya कि मैंने सिखाना है. So I'm quite excited. I'm sure my viewers that are watching, you guys are quite excited for this to come out, because we can apni health we see look after kar sakte hain, exercise we kar sakte hain, and the foods that we love, we can definitely still have them, taking in consideration ki, give khana hai, kidda khana hai, how we're going to do it. Because there's a saying, isn't there, Jiggy, that when you wake up in the morning, there's a very big difference. I don't know if any of my viewers that are watching, I don't know if you've ever tried it, but if you wake up in the morning, have a full glass of water, and start your day like that, it's a lot more better than actually waking up in the morning and having junk food, having crisps, because you feel a bit more groggy, sort of thing. Definitely has a massive impact. Correct me if I'm wrong on this, Juggy. What's your view on it?
Look, I think every element of what we consume, everything element of what we put into our bodies, I think we should always have that moment of just mindfulness before we consume it and ask ourselves what benefit we're going to receive from this and what benefit we're looking for. Because if we create this mindful approach towards the foods that we consume or the drinks that we consume, then that's going to enable you to take greater level of control over your intake. So, for example, if you know that you don't like the fact that you constantly eat biscuits and chocolate bars or whatever it might be, but you keep doing it, part of the reason for that is probably because you're trying to comfort yourself from some other form of stress that you're experiencing. But if you take that moment before you eat the chocolate bar to ask yourself, what am I trying to achieve from this? You might be able to change your approach. So rather than saying this is a bad thing to do, you might say, well, actually, I can do this, but it's not going to get me what I want. So why don't I try a slightly different approach? Why don't I go outside for a walk? Why don't I get some fresh air? Why don't I drink some water and actually see if I need to be hydrated in this moment? So yeah, I think intake is so important, but also recognizing why we're choosing to take that action in the first place.
And how important is it taking care of your body and your nutrition? It goes hand in hand, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But again, I think it's your body, it's your nutrition, but it's also your mind. And I think everything
Mm,
we do is underpinned by the mind. I mean, when we look at my health triad method that we use with our clients, so this is a clear system that we use with everybody that we work with. The first thing we focus on is our mindset, our psychological beliefs towards health and well-being. Because if we've got limiting factors there with psychology, then there's no real
mm,
point in just trying to give somebody some advice or a nutrition plan or give somebody a training plan, because the moment they experience an obstacle, they'll go back to old
mm.
ways. So we need to reform these almost neurological pathways towards health, what it means to us, and then start to work on, food and exercise and lifestyle change.
And is it just you with your platform, or do you have other people, that you have other people trained, that work with you, and
Yeah.
you can actually send all these people, because as you said, you have so many people that come to you, and with all those people come to you, sometimes it can be hard to, look after so many people all in one go, because there's only one Juggy, right?
Hmm.
There's so many people. We haven't got a clone system where, or a clone machine. जिससे ना ਅਸੀਂ कितने सारे Juggy बना लिए. So I'm assuming, you must have like a team of people that
Yeah.
are experts, that have
Yeah.
trained in this field, that work along with you. How does that team actually work with you? What is that system like when people come to you to say, "Jungi sano aa help chahiye," or because there must be people that are also, even the elder generation that must come to you, and that
Yeah.
don't really understand anything about fitness or any of this. So how does that actually work?
Yeah, this is the beautiful thing about what we've done is obviously, like you said, there's only one of me, but the beauty of me creating this health trade method is that I've actually been able to educate my clients, sorry, my coaches, to actually work
Mm,
with my clients. So we've got a team of psychologists that have got over 45 years worth of experience between them. We've got a team of coaches, so I've mentored 4 coaches now, and they themselves have got about 45 years of experience between them. We've got a head of
mm,
education. So again, the head of education also works with me in mentoring coaches. We've got injury rehab specialists. We've got posture and movement specialists. So these coaches have got incredible backgrounds. One of our coaches is actually a doctor of cardiovascular medicine. So we've ticked all of the boxes. We've even got a customer service director that reaches out to every single one of our clients to make sure that they're getting what they need from the journey and making sure that we're
Mm,
covering all the bases for their requirements. So yes, like you said, it's not just me sitting behind a laptop creating programs. We've got an incredible team with vast amount of experience that works with our
mm,
clients and gives them a stepwise approach to really have a positive impact on their health and their well-being. And yes,
mm,
it's not just a one size fits all approach. And yes, it's dedicated specifically to the individual. And everything we create from start to finish is about the individual. So it's not like there's one person with the same plan as the other, because it would be physically impossible to make that happen. So even before people join us, we do things like movement assessment to actually see how somebody moves. So if somebody can't do a sit to stand, then why would we want to program a squat for them to do in terms of an exercise? Somebody's got high
mm,
resting heart rate, they probably need to manage their stress, and they probably need to start at a lower level than somebody who's got a really healthy position with their heart rate. So yeah, there's a lot that goes into it, but we simplify it. We go through a 125-point health check with every single client, and then that enables us to actually create a program that's bespoke for the individual. But it's not just about the program, it's also the support that goes alongside it. So once you join us, you're going to be handheld every single step of the way until the point
mm.
that you actually feel comfortable going away and doing it by yourself.
And looking at your platform itself, because you have this amazing team to help you, it sounds like it's not just that कोई आऊगा तो तुसी कह देना तुसी आ करियो आ एक्सरसाइज करनी आ खाना है तो सारा कुछ ठीक हो जाना. You kind of dig deeper, don't it? It's like, because it all, like you said, it all starts with your mind, isn't it? A lot of
Mm.
people don't even realize that they actually are carrying out a negative mindset. They're living and breathing in and day out, but people don't actually realize that, and it's really hard for. And I want our viewers to, all my viewers that are watching, I want you guys to understand and take the note away from this. Not everyone is positive every day. You don't just wake up being positive every day. It takes a lot to train our minds to be positive, because our mind हमेशा गलत पासे लेके जाता है. And that's right, isn't it, Juggy? We have that mindset, and it's really hard to train that. So you guys kind of dig a bit deeper, don't you, to kind of get that positive mind thing. And is that a very big part of a challenge when you get a client come through to you?
Yeah, I think this is important, that we shouldn't expect ourselves to be happy all the time or to be positive all the time. We've got to accept that life is life and there's going to be setbacks. But what we always encourage is just constant communication, and we work on this one main value, which is integrity. Integrity means we do what we say we're going to do. So if right at the very start of the journey that we're working together, somebody says, if I struggle with something, I'm going to reach out
Mm,
and I'm going to ask for support. If something bad happens in my journey, I'm going to reach out and I'm going to ask for support. So this is really powerful for us, because then the people we work with know that they're not expected to know all of the answers. And if you think about our community, a lot of the time we're taught to keep our problems in. Don't be a burden on others. Make sure that you don't share what's going on outside the four walls. But this is really important. If we can actually encourage open communication and honesty, then we can help provide solutions for every obstacle that occurs. And we've had
mm,
real difficult times with some of our clients. Really impactful stuff from a human experience occurring during their journey with us, but we were able to coach them through it because they committed to communication.
And it's all about commitment, isn't it? If you have a client that is committed to do it, then by all means it will work. But if you have someone that comes to you, says they're committed, and then halfway, a couple of weeks later, they slip, then it doesn't really work, does it? And when you have you had those types of clients, Jiggy, and how have you managed to get them back?
I think this is important. Like we expect people to slip, and we almost want them to slip at some point, because if it was smooth and if it was an easy the process, then they wouldn't learn anything. So if it's just
Mm,
easy and they're ticking boxes and there's no issues and they have no obstacles, then there's no reason for them to learn how to adapt to the obstacles. So this is why we almost appreciate it. But the best way to manage it is just actually reach out and say, this is what I'm experiencing. So a lot of the time we see that people are very, very weight focused. So they're very, very much their emotions, their happiness, their fulfillment is basically altered by a number that they see on a machine that they stand on first thing in the morning. Well, what we want people to do is start to recognize that for health, there's way more than just weight. So, for example,
Mm.
somebody's circumference measurements are moving and they're trending down. That's a positive. If somebody's learned something about themselves, that's a positive. If somebody's shifted from an obstacle focused mindset to a solution focused mindset, that's a positive. So there's so many different parameters of success. I mean, how many people come to us that are pre-diabetic? How many people that come to us with high LDL cholesterol? How many people come to us that have got hypertension? If we can show people these numbers are actually improving, it doesn't matter what's happening on the scales because their health is improving from within.
And so, as we've just touched base just now, Jiggy, so, how do people, people with any disabilities like diabetes or high blood pressure, cholesterol ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ, ਕਈਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ, and especially within our community, we have a lot of that, ਭਾਰ ਵੱਧ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਆ, ਘਟ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਆ, ਕਈਆਂ ਦਾ ਵੱਧਦਾ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗਾ, ਕਈਆਂ ਦਾ, ਘਟਦਾ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗਾ. And how do those people, when they come to you, how do they gain the benefit from taking care of their health, which includes fitness and nutrition? When is the best time, to kind of exercise for them, or how does that work with you? Because obviously that must be a lot more complicated, right? To do all of
Mm.
those things. So how does that work? Talk to us about that.
Well, I think this is the thing. Genetically speaking,
Mm,
Asians are actually predisposed to high levels of risk for these types of diseases. So I think first and foremost, we need to accept and appreciate that. So if we can acknowledge that, then we need to start to bring more awareness of what do we have in our control. So most of the time, what we have in our control is our environment, and we choose our environment. So we can start to look at how do we manage the factors that go into impacting these diseases. Stress is a huge one that people just completely overlook when it comes to high resting heart rate, high blood pressure, cardiovascular disease, and even type 2 diabetes. So what we need to work on is what is causing the stress. Is it internal stress, from inflammation from within? Is it a mental stress? Is it the pressures that we're facing? So this is where we start to create a solution for each individual. I think this is an important thing as well. Most people don't need to be on the optimal side of things to progress. So what I mean by that is we've got a practical side of things, we've got an optimal side of things. So we need to create a solution that's kind of in the middle to enable them to actually integrate change into their life in the long term. Blood pressure, for example, you can't rush into a gym and start deadlifting and doing leg presses and squats. We need to figure out, are you capable of doing that? Is that the right modality of exercise for you as an individual right now? And also, the missing factor here that nobody thinks about is, can your body recover? If you've got all of
mm,
these things going on in your life, are you able to sleep well? Are you digesting the foods that you consume in? Or are you feeling bloated all the time? Are you feeling constipated all the time? These are things that people don't like to talk about. But if you're not getting the nutrients from your food in the first place, then there's no real point going into a very, rigid diet, because you need to make sure that you're actually getting nutrients from the food that you consume to help you recover.
And we're talking about sleep as well.
Mm,
I exercise quite a lot, and I go to the gym. And from what often is said, and from what after I hear, is that you need to have enough sleep. Sleep is as much as important as it is to have your nutrition, drinking water,
mm.
and making sure you're eating the right things, you're doing the right things, making sure that you are doing the right exercise in the right form. Sleep is as much important. How much sleep does an average person need, Juggy? When they're on this program with yourselves, or generally ਜੇ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਤਾਂ ਆਪ exercise ਕਰਦੇ that go to the gym and are eating healthy and having their protein or shakes or even their vegetarian diet, whichever way they like doing it, how how important is sleep, and how
Look,
many
sleep
hours do they
is
need?
the yeah, sleep is the pinnacle of health. But I mean, I've got two kids, and they tend to wake up during the night. So if you're, if you've got to be on that practical side of things as well as the optimal. So there isn't an optimal amount of sleep for most people. It's really difficult to just give people a broad number to work towards. So we focus on quality of sleep, not just length of sleep, but quality of sleep. How much deep sleep are you getting? How much REM sleep are you getting? Because that's the restorative sleep, and that's also where you
Mm.
can start to process your thoughts and your emotions better. So I think it's really important that people factor sleep into their recovery process, but focus more on their quality over quantity.
Mm. And talking about that, it's that time again, guys. I'm so sorry. Time यूं चल जाता पता भी नहीं लगता हैगा कि कद टाइम फिनिश हो जाता पर तुम फिक्र ना करियो ਅਸੀਂ ਅਗਲੇ ਹਫਤੇ ਫੇਰ ਆਵਾਂਗੇ every Thursday 9:30. But one thing I really want you to take away is that when we're talking about health, for a lot of different people, and something that I've also learned and I'm taking away today as well, ਕਈਆਂ ਦੀ happiness ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਆ, with happiness, everyone's happiness is different, and happiness stems quite quickly. You can be withdrawn you from happiness. Something can stop you very quickly. Things change in our life so fast, so quick that we don't even realize what's making us unhappy or happy. And it starts from our actual health. If we take care of ourselves, which is really important, अपनी आप दी look after करेंगे तो ਜਿਹੜੇ ਬਾਕੀ ਵੀ ਸਾਰੇ ਆਸੇ-ਪਾਸੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਵੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਦੇਖਭਾਲ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ. But it all starts with you. It starts with your health because you are important. And I really want you to take that message away. Juggy, thank you so much for coming on today's show. Really do appreciate that. And if you have any questions, guys, that or everyone that's watching, please do contact Juggy. He's there to help you. He has a platform on Instagram, Facebook. ਤੁਸੀਂ ਉਹਨੂੰ email ਵੀ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਆ. But thank you for watching today. ਅਸੀਂ ਅਗਲੇ ਹਫਤੇ ਫੇਰ ਮਿਲਦੇ ਆ. ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਤੇ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ।